The sun burned over the village of Tola like an angry eye that never blinked. The ground had cracked open from thirst, splitting into dry, jagged lines that stretched across the land. Not a single drop of rain had fallen in months, and the air itself felt heavy and hot, like it was choking the life out of everything. But in this suffering village, there was one rule everyone feared more than the drought. Princess Adora must never touch the ground. Whenever she stepped outside, servants rushed ahead, rolling out thick carpets of red and gold beneath her feet. If the carpets failed, strong men carried her high above the dusty earth. Even inside the palace, her feet never touched the floor. The king had made it clear, anyone who allowed it would be punished forever. And no one dared to ask why. At the far edge of Tola, where the ground was driest and the huts were smallest, lived a boy named Kobe. He was only 8, but his eyes carried the weight of someone much older. His hands were rough from digging in stubborn soil that refused to give life. Beside him was his little sister, Nala. She was small, quiet, and always hungry. Since their parents were taken by sickness, Kobe had become everything to her: brother, protector, and hope. Each day they sat by the roadside and watched the royal procession pass. Princess Adora floated above the ground in beauty and silk, surrounded by guards. But while others admired her, Kobe noticed something different. She never smiled. Nala would tug his shirt and whisper, "Why can't she play with us?" Kobe had no answer. All he knew was this: while the princess lived in comfort, his sister was slowly fading away. The drought did not come suddenly. It crept in slowly, stealing life one day at a time. The river that once flowed through Tola had become nothing more than a stretch of dry, white sand. Crops withered before they could grow, and the trees stood lifeless, their leaves long gone. Animals grew thin and weak, their cries filling the silent nights. Mothers searched desperately for water, digging into the earth with bare hands, hoping to find even a drop. But the ground gave nothing back. Children no longer played in the streets. Many were too weak to stand. Yet above all this suffering, the king's palace remained untouched. Hidden behind high walls was a well that never ran dry. Still, the gates stayed closed. The people begged, but the king refused. And slowly, painfully, the village of Tola began to die. Kobe knew watching from a distance would not save his sister. If the palace held water, then that was where he needed to be. So one morning, with dust on his feet and determination in his chest, he climbed the steep path to the palace gates. The guards laughed at the small boy, but an old woman named Binta, the head cook, saw something in his eyes. She gave him a chance. Inside, the palace felt like another world: cool air, the smell of rich food, and floors that shone like mirrors. Kobe scrubbed heavy pots and washed the soft animal skins the princess walked on. But what struck him most was not the luxury. It was the fear. Servants moved carefully, eyes always on the ground, as if one mistake could destroy everything. Kobe began to realize this place was hiding something dangerous. One afternoon, the palace courtyard was calm, almost too quiet. Princess Adora sat on a wooden bench, her eyes fixed on a small bird in a cage. Up close, her beauty was even more striking, but so was her sadness. A servant hurried forward, unrolling a carpet for her path. His hands trembled. Then it happened. His foot slipped. The carpet rolled away, exposing a patch of bare earth right in front of the princess. Everything froze. No one moved. No one breathed. Adora slowly stood, her eyes wide, her foot lifting slightly toward the ground. For a single second, time seemed to stop. Then the king burst into the courtyard, his voice like thunder. "Stop!" He rushed forward, pulling her back violently. Guards seized the trembling servant. His fate was sealed. Kobe watched in shock. It was just dirt. So why did it terrify the king? That night, when the palace fell into silence, Kobe moved quietly through the dark halls, his heart pounding. He wasn't just searching for water anymore. He needed answers. At the end of a forgotten corridor, he found a wooden door slightly open. Inside, the air smelled of dust and age. The walls were covered with old, fading paintings. Kobe stepped closer, raising his small candle. The first painting showed a younger king holding a lifeless baby, tears on his face. The next showed him standing before a towering storm in a dark forest. The last showed a glowing blue light being placed inside the child's chest. A voice spoke behind him. "You were not meant to see this." Kobe turned. It was Benton. With a heavy sigh, she revealed the truth. Princess Adora was not fully human. She was made of rain and magic. Benton's voice was low, heavy with years of silence. She told Kobe how the king had begged the spirits to bring his daughter back to life, and they agreed, but at a cost. Adora's heart was no longer fully human. It carried the essence of rain, a fragile magic that did not belong to the earth. "If she ever touches the ground," Benta whispered, "the earth will claim what is not its own." Kobe felt a chill run through him. Now the king's fear made sense. But Benta wasn't finished. "The sky spirits are angry," she continued. "The rain inside her is trapped. That is why the heavens are closed. That is why your village is dying." Kobe's chest tightened. To save the princess, the king had condemned everyone else. And now, both the girl made of rain and the people below were slowly running out of time. The next day, the palace was no longer calm. It was filled with panic. Servants rushed through the halls, whispering in fear. Guards stood uneasy, gripping their spears tighter than usual. Something was terribly wrong. Kobe listened closely and felt his stomach drop. The drought was affecting Princess Adora. Without moisture in the air, her body, made of rain, was beginning to weaken. When Kobe finally caught a glimpse of her, his heart sank. She lay on her bed, her skin pale and almost transparent, like clear water. Her breathing was slow and fragile. She was drying out. Just like the river, just like the crops, just like his sister. The king paced endlessly, shouting at healers, demanding answers they could not give. But there was nothing they could do. Adora was not sick. She was disappearing. Desperation changed the king. Fear for his daughter twisted into something darker, something the entire village would soon feel. That same day, he gave a new command, one that shocked even his own guards. "Take every drop of water," he ordered. The soldiers marched down into Tola like a storm of iron. They forced open doors, seized hidden pots, and took even the smallest cups meant for the sick. Mothers cried, children begged, but the guards showed no mercy. All the water was carried back to the palace. There, massive fires were lit beneath giant pots. The stolen water was boiled, turning into thick clouds of steam. The steam was sent into Adora's room to keep her alive. Kobe watched in silence, his fists clenched. The king was saving one life by destroying hundreds. When Kobe returned home that evening, the village felt different, too quiet, too still. A heavy silence hung in the air, like something had already been lost. He rushed into his small hut, calling out softly, "Nala?" No answer. His heart pounded as he knelt beside her. She lay motionless on the thin mat, her lips cracked, her skin burning with heat. Her breathing was faint, almost gone. Kobe shook her gently, panic rising in his chest. "Nayla, please, wake up." But she could barely respond. He looked around desperately for water, but there was nothing. The small cup he had hidden was gone, taken by the king's guards. A tear slid down his cheek and hit the dry floor. In that moment, Kobe understood the truth. If he did nothing, his sister would not survive the night. Kobe sat beside Nala, his small hands trembling as he held hers. The heat in her body frightened him, but it was the weakness in her breath that scared him more. Time was running out. He closed his eyes, thinking of everything he had seen, the palace, the secret. the dying princess, and the suffering village. The truth was clear now. This had to end. Kobe stood up slowly, wiping his tears. Fear still lived inside him, but something stronger had taken its place: courage. If the princess knew the truth, she might choose differently. She had kind eyes. She didn't deserve to live in lies. But getting to her would not be easy. The palace was heavily guarded, especially at night. Still, Kobe had made his choice. He would sneak into the princess's room and tell her everything. The moon hung high over Tola, casting a pale glow on the silent village. Kobe moved quickly through the shadows, his heart pounding with every step. Fear followed him, but he did not stop. The palace walls rose before him, tall and cold. Guards stood at every gate, their torches flickering like watchful eyes. There was no way through the front. So Kobe went to the back. Thick vines climbed the side of the princess's tower, stretching toward her balcony. He swallowed hard and grabbed hold. The climb was slow and painful. The rough stones scraped his hands, and his arms ached with every pull. One slip, and it would be over. But he kept going. Higher and higher. Until finally, he reached the balcony. Breathing hard, Kobe pulled himself over the edge. The doors to her room were slightly open. And inside, the air looked like clouds. Kobe stepped quietly into the room, the warm steam wrapping around him like a thick cloud. Princess Adora sat on her bed, her glowing skin faint and fragile, like light fading at dusk. She looked up, startled. "You? How did you get here?" she whispered. Kobe didn't hesitate. "My sister is dying," he said, his voice shaking but firm. "Everyone is dying. Because of you." Her eyes widened in shock. Quickly, carefully, Kobe told her everything. The drought, the stolen water, the suffering village, and the truth about her existence. With each word, tears rolled down her face, clear drops of pure water falling onto her hands. "My whole life," she whispered, staring at her glowing skin. "It was all a lie." Kobe nodded sadly. Silence filled the room. Then something changed in her eyes. Not fear, not sadness, but a quiet, powerful decision. Princess Adora rose slowly from her bed, her body weak, but her eyes steady. The fear that once lived in them was gone, replaced by something stronger: understanding. "I can feel it," she said softly, looking toward the open balcony. "The earth, it's calling me." Kobe's heart raced. He knew what that meant. Before he could speak, the doors burst open. King Gino stormed in, his face filled with panic and anger. "Get away from her!" he shouted, rushing forward. Adora stepped back, raising her hand. "Stop, father." Her voice was calm, yet powerful. "You tried to save me," she said gently. "But in doing so, you destroyed everything else." The king shook his head wildly. "I did it for you." Tears filled her eyes. "And now, I must fix it." She turned and walked toward the balcony. The king screamed her name. But this time, she did not stop. Adora stepped onto the balcony, the cool night air wrapping around her glowing form. For a moment, everything was still: the wind, the palace, even the king's desperate cries. "Kobe," she said softly, turning back with a gentle smile. "Thank you for telling me the truth." Then she stepped forward. The king lunged, screaming, but he was too late. Adora's bare feet touched the dry earth below. In an instant, a blinding flash of blue light burst into the sky. The ground trembled, and a powerful roar filled the air. Kobe shielded his eyes as the light consumed everything. When it faded, Adora was gone. In her place, a pillar of pure water surged upward, rising high into the sky like a fountain of life. The heavens answered. Dark clouds gathered, and for the first time in months, rain began to fall. The first drop fell softly, then another, and another. Within seconds, the sky opened. Heavy rain poured down on Tola, washing away months of dust and suffering. The dry earth drank deeply, the cracked ground slowly healing as water filled every empty space. In the village, people rushed outside, lifting their faces to the sky. Some laughed, others cried, many fell to their knees in relief. Children danced barefoot in the mud, feeling life return beneath them. Inside a small hut, Nala stirred. Cool drops touched her face, and her lips parted as she drank the rain. Her breathing grew stronger. Kobe stood in the palace, letting the rain soak through his clothes, his heart full and heavy at the same time. The princess was gone. But because of her sacrifice, the village lived again. And for the first time in a long while, hope returned. The rain did not stop for hours. It washed over the palace walls and flowed down into the village, filling the empty river and bringing life back to the land. Green slowly began to return where only dust had lived before. Kobe walked back home through the soft, wet earth, each step sinking slightly beneath his feet. When he entered the hut, Nala was sitting up, weak but alive. She smiled when she saw him. Tears filled his eyes, but this time they were not from pain. Up in the palace, King Jano stood alone on the balcony, the rain pouring over him. His hands were empty now. The daughter he tried so hard to keep was gone. But deep down, he knew the truth. Some things are not meant to be held forever. Sometimes, letting go is the only way to save what truly matters.